and I'm happy now. Let me move forward, give it a name, and we will see that in a minute that how this policy looks like. It would have two statements inside, one for EC2, one for S3, and we'll see how it actually looks like. Let me give it a name. Let me call it 00 dev policy because this is for my developer. This has EC2 and S3, and I would say let me create a policy. So EC2 and S3, that's what I have attached into this particular policy statement. We'll see in a minute that how this policy actually looks like. So I've created a policy and it would be displayed to me. I'll show you a JSON inside that how that JSON looks like. Okay, so I am into dev policy here. This is the policy we have created. And if I read it and let me copy it for easy viewing here onto a notepad so you can all relate to what we are trying to do here. So in this particular policy, what I have is this. What I'm saying, I am saying version is fine, statement is fine. Here it says this was created using a visual policy editor. And then it is allowing what? Two actions. See this bracket is representing multiple items inside. S3 colon star and EC2 colon star means everything on S3 and everything on EC2 would be allowed. That's what we have achieved. And on every resource so should not be a problem. So we achieved what we were looking for. But policy creation is one thing. Next thing is you have to attach this policy. Unless it is attached, it is of no use. So what we have to do now, we may have to attach this policy to a specific group or user. I would attach this to the group, right? So I'm saying I want to attach to whom I want to attach. A policy can be attached to user, could be attached to a group, could be attached to a role. We haven't discussed roles. We would talk about that in a minute. Can we use wildcard for resources, Jab? Yes, you can, no problem at all on that. And that's what we have done here. Here resources, everything is star, which means on every resource belonging to S3 and belonging to EC2 that we have. And see this, these are all my users and groups. As we can see, by default, I am seeing users, but if I want to filter based on groups, I can filter groups and can say, hey QA, I am giving you this permission. Let me attach this policy to you. So what happens now? I am able to attach this policy to my QA, sorry, dev group. So what I achieved this action. Let me quickly walk through this and then we'll go for a break. Now I have a custom policy to create, call S3 read only access. Debashish, I can read your question. Can we attach policy if we use them attached directly to user? Are they called inline? Answer is no. Inline is little different. We'll talk about that if time permits, but inline is different. It's not attached directly to user. It could be attached to something else. So now my requirement is to create a read-only access policy. Now, wait a minute. Should I create policy for everything? Can I reuse existing policies? Answer is yes. I may reuse existing policies. So I would be able to see policies existing and attach them to my user should not be a problem. So let's do that. I don't want to create a S3 read-only policy. I want to reuse existing policies if they are present. Let me first go to my groups. I would select my QA group, and from there, I would be attaching a policy to it. Okay, now I am having permissions here. Currently, I have not given any permission. Sorry, I have by mistake attached dev policy. If I had made a mistake here, I could remove it. This is QA group. I don't want to attach the dev policy. Let me now attach a policy here. So I'm adding a permission by attaching a policy. What policy I want to attach? I want to search for S3 policies. What S3 policies exist? These all S3 policy exist, and one of them is my S3 read only access. What this policy would do, if I go ahead and put it again on notepad for you to view properly, what this policy is going to give me, it is going to give me some specific use case. S3 get, S3 list, S3 object lambda get, S3 object lambda list, and resources star. Everything related to get and list and object lambda would be allowed in this case. So this is a read only policy. I can use this existing policy and attach it to a user instead of creating my own policy. So that is also possible. I could select it. This is my policy. And now I can say, hey, I want to attach this policy to my group, my QA group, and I have selected this policy and I would say add permission. So one part is done. I am able to give my QA all permission related to Amazon S3 read only access. Now, second task which I needed for my QA was this EC2 but run instance and only run in Ireland and only instance type T2 micro. So obviously this is a very specific requirement. I don't think a policy by default exists. So what I have to do, I have to create this policy and I would be then creating this policy so that you can see how customization can be done into the policies. So let me go to policies. We are nearing to a break. So let me finish this policy creation and we'll go for a break. So let me create a policy. This is a very specific policy which I am looking for, right? My requirements are clear. EC2 run instance only. They can only create instance and only if the region is Ireland and only if they request a T2 micro instance. If they request something else, I don't want to allow it. That's what my requirements are. Let's go ahead and create it. So first service I am going to use here is my EC2. Okay, so this is my EC2 service. What action? Now I want to use a specific action that is called allow them to create instance. And for that, the instance action is called run API call. So if I select here run, whenever somebody goes into console and say, I want to create an instance, the API call at the backend, which is done is called run instance. So what I have done here, I have selected this run instance API call. Only this much allowed, nothing else. They won't be able to do anything else on that. Any resource, yes, that's fine. I don't want to put any restriction on resource, so let me make it all resources, no issues at all on that. What is my condition? Now this is important. This is where I want to put more restriction, like I want to restrict it to Ireland. I want to maybe put some multi-factor authentication. I may put some source IP restriction that if requests come from that IP, only allow it, otherwise don't allow it. So I can select different condition keys here. Like if it is coming via a specific thing, if it is coming from a current time, like I can say, hey, this is a contractor who would be coming only from 9 to 5, only give them permission from 9 to 5. So that kind of things can be added if you require from a user ID, from a username. And right now I am looking for a specific thing in EC2, which is called EC2 region. So let's see that. I can select all these and I say EC2 region. And I am saying operator string equals, and I can say value is EU-West-1. What does it mean? That I would allow run instance if this request is coming into EU West 1 region, otherwise I won't allow it. So if you remember, this is what I was looking for. I have added a restriction that allow run instance if region selected is EU West 1, anything else, please don't allow it. I have one more condition to fulfill. What is the second condition I have to fulfill? I want to allow only instance type T2 micro. So let's put additional layer of control in this policy by adding another condition. So I'm adding one more condition. This time it is on EC2 and this time I am looking for a instance type, not image type. I am putting a instance type restriction. Now here I can say string equals means exactly match. Yes, it is case sensitive. Yes, Vijay, it is a case sensitive value. So be aware about case sensitive nature. Yes, everything is case sensitive here. Right. So I can say string equals means exact match. So if I say string equals t2.micro, which means only this instance type would be allowed. But if I want to be little generic here, I can say string is like, and I can say t2 dot star, which means I have put a wildcard here, which is giving access to T2 micro, T2 nano, T2 extra large, T2 double extra large, whatever is available into T2 family, I am giving access to it. And that's what I am doing to add here. So I have this added here, T2 dot star. Done. And now I am able to create a policy like this. So this is much controlled policy, much specific to my need, and that is much easier, not a complicated one. Can use regular expression? Absolutely, you can use regular expression there. Should not be a problem. It is purely up to you how you want to utilize it. So if you see, I use regular expression, isn't it? T2 dot star is a regular expression which is matching everything on the T2 side. So let me create this particular policy now. Hopefully everyone is following along. I have to give it a name. Let's call it T2 only. And I would say let's create a policy. So once this policy gets created, I would be able to show it to you and then attach it to a QA group so that they would have that specific access, nothing beyond it. You can combine multiple policies on a user or a group. It may be combination of only managed policies, or it could be combination of managed and unmanaged policies or custom policies. It is purely up to you how you want to control that thing. Okay, so now my policy has been created. Let's see this. Let me expand it and I would go ahead, copy this information, put it into Notepad so that you can view it easily. And let's see what is happening here. So I am saying allow what EC2 run instance on any resource, but conditions are string equals EC2 region equal to EU West 1 and string like EC2 instance type is T2 dot star. So that is how I achieved allowing EU West as a region for run instances for any type of T2 should not be a problem. So does this policy need to fulfill one condition or both? This is AND string equals and string like. If both conditions are fulfilled, then only it is going to be working, otherwise it won't work. So here this one is a and condition, condition 1 and condition 2. When both fulfilled, then only we would allow, otherwise we won't allow it, right? So if one failed, one fulfilled, it is still a deny. Like if in an interview you cleared one round but you failed in second round, you are still failed. Exact same thing here. So both condition has to be true, then only it would be allowed. Okay, good. It is an AND operator exactly. Okay, good. So hopefully everyone is clear and understood what we are trying to achieve.